Kyurem fusions. Kyurem is one of the first legendary Pokemon designed specifically with a fusion mechanic. Its process is called Absofusion, and it requires an item called the DNA splicers. With this item, Kyurem can merge with either Reshiram or Zekrom, creating the forms White Kyurem or Black Kyurem. The reason this works is because these three dragons, Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem, were once a single dragon in ancient times. That dragon split apart into three pieces, Reshiram representing truth, Zekrom representing ideals, and Kyurem as the hollow remainder. Because of their shared origin, their genetic structures are compatible, allowing fusion. In the fused state, Kyurem keeps its ice typing, but gains either fire if it absorbs Reshiram, or electric if it absorbs Zekrom. These forms also gain powerful signature moves, Fusion Flare or Fusion Bolt, boosted further if used after each other. The fusion isn't permanent. If Kyurem is defeated in battle, or the DNA splicers are used again, the Pokemon separate back into their original forms. Another detail is that the shiny coloration comes only from Kyurem. If Kyurem is shiny, the fusion form will also be shiny, regardless of whether Reshiram or Zekrom are shiny. Necrozma fusions. Necrozma's fusion works differently from Kyurem's, taking on a more parasitic nature. Instead of a balanced merger, Necrozma dominates its partner completely, controlling both body and mind. This happens when Necrozma fuses with either Solgaleo or Lunala, creating Duskmane Necrozma or Dawnwings Necrozma. The fusion is performed using special items, the N-Solarizer for Solgaleo and the N-Lunarizer for Lunala. Once fused, Necrozma essentially uses the other legendary as a host body. The purpose is to store and harness massive amounts of light energy. When fully charged, this energy allows it to transform into Ultra Necrozma, one of the strongest forms in the franchise. Just like with Kyurem, the fusion isn't permanent. Using the same items again or losing in battle forces Necrozma to separate from its host. In terms of coloration, the shiny attribute is tied only to Necrozma. If Necrozma is shiny, the fusion will be shiny regardless of the Solgaleo or Lunala used. Calyrex fusions. Calyrex demonstrates a more symbiotic fusion compared to the dominance of Necrozma or the equal merger of Kyurem. This process uses the item called the Reins of Unity, which binds Calyrex with one of its steeds, either Glastrier or Spectrier. The results are Ice Rider Calyrex or Shadow Rider Calyrex. And this fusion, Calyrex maintains control of the body and mind, but forms a cooperative bond with its partner. Glastrier grants immense physical strength and adds the ice typing, while Spectrier enhances speed and adds the ghost typing. This partnership significantly boosts Calyrex's battle power, turning it from a fragile Pokemon into a dominant legendary. When fused, Calyrex appears riding its steed, crowned with a radiant glow, resembling a ruler with a loyal mount. The fusion can be undone either by using the Reins of Unity again, or when Calyrex loses its strength in battle. For shiny forms, only Calyrex's body reflects the shiny palette. The steed remains its normal color, showing that only the king's essence changes. Dugtrio. Dugtrio is one of the earliest examples of a fusion-like Pokemon, and its origin has been debated for decades. The Pokédex describes it in two conflicting ways, sometimes as 3 Diglett triplets, and other times as 3 Diglett that emerged from a single body. This creates uncertainty, whether Dugtrio is a natural fusion or just an unusual evolutionary split. The anime adds to the confusion by depicting Dugtrio as 3 separate Diglett that combine together, similar to a team-based fusion. Regardless of which explanation is correct, Dugtrio operates as one entity. Its 3 heads move and attack in perfect unison, suggesting either a shared mind or a constant telepathic connection. The Alolan Dugtrio keeps the 3-headed structure but adds long golden hair to each head, proving that even fused or collective Pokemon can undergo regional adaptations. The main unresolved question remains, is Dugtrio truly one Pokemon split into 3, or 3 Pokemon merged into 1? Either way, its coordination shows a fusion-like bond that cannot be separated. Slowbro and Slowking. Slowbro and Slowking represent one of the most unusual fusion-based evolutions. Both start from Slowpoke, but the transformation only occurs when a Shelder latches onto its body. If Shellder bites Slowpoke's tail, the two merge into Slowbro. If Shellder bites Slowpoke's head while Slowpoke is holding a King's Rock, the result is Slowking. In both cases, Shellder's body dramatically changes shape during the process, yet it is still recognized as a Shellder by the Pokédex. This shows that the fusion alters not only Slowpoke, but also Shellder's physiology. The Galarian forms follow a similar principle, but require special regional items. The Galarica Cuff for Galarian Slowbro, and the Galarica Wreath for Galarian Slowking. Interestingly, this fusion is not permanent in theory. If the two were ever separated, both would revert to their original species. Mega Evolution makes the situation even stranger. When Slowbro Mega evolves, Shellder engulfs almost the entire body, showing how the fusion can intensify over time. Magneton and Magnezone. Magneton is a clear case of fusion through numbers. It forms when three Magnemite link together, combining their electromagnetic fields to create a stronger unified being. This merger is primarily described in the Pokédex, though games like Pokémon Snap visually show Magnemite clustering into Magneton. The fusion requires 3 units specifically. Pokémon Mystery Dungeon even shows that 2 Magnemite alone can't evolve, calling it a failed attempt because the third is missing. Once all 3 merge, their bodies remain magnetically locked, and their minds seem to operate as a single consciousness. The process continues with Magneton's evolution into Magnezone, where the 3 Magnemite reorganize into a UFO-like shape. Here, the fusion becomes more streamlined, with the individual parts nearly indistinguishable. Some regional variations expand the concept. For example, the Paradox Pokémon Sandy Shocks resembles an ancient form of multiple Magnemite fused into one, suggesting this idea of electromagnetic merger has existed since prehistoric times. Exeggcute and Exeggutor. Exeggcute is a colony-based Pokémon made up of 6 individual seeds that are always linked by a strong telepathic connection. If separated, they quickly grow distressed, showing that their survival depends on staying together. This bond makes them act as a single organism, even though each head still has an independent face and personality. When Exeggcute evolves into Exeggutor, the 6 members transform into multiple heads attached to a single palm tree-like body. Each head continues to function semi-independently, but now they share one physical form. Over time, one of Exeggutor's heads can fall off and become a new Exeggcute, starting the cycle again. The Alolan form of Exeggutor expands this fusion even further. Its neck stretches to extreme lengths, creating a towering palm tree with an additional head sprouting at the tail. This demonstrates how regional adaptation can reshape the fusion while still keeping the multi-headed collective intact. Weezing. Weezing forms through the merger of 2 coughing, creating a dual-headed poisonous cloud. The Pokédex even mentions extremely rare cases of triplet Weezing, though these have never appeared in the games or anime. Unlike some fusions where parts lose identity, both heads of Weezing clearly maintain distinct faces and expressions, yet they act in total coordination as one Pokémon. The Galarian Weezing variation keeps the 2-headed design, but adapts it for a different purpose. Instead of only spreading toxins, it filters air through chimney-like structures resembling Victorian smokestacks. This form shows that even fused Pokémon can evolve to fill new environmental roles. The 2 heads suggest that the original coughing retains some level of individuality after fusion, but since all movement and attacks are synchronized, the pair behaves as a unified entity. Essentially, Weezing is a permanent cohabitation of toxic partners that can never separate. Metang and Metagross. Metang and Metagross represent one of the most structured examples of fusion evolution in Pokémon. The process follows a clear doubling sequence. 2 Beldum fuse together to create Metang. 2 Metang fuse together to create Metagross, meaning a full Metagross is formed from 4 Beldum in total. This fusion doesn't just combine bodies, it links their minds into a psychic network. Metagross is described as having the intelligence of a supercomputer, because each Beldum brain contributes processing power to the collective whole. When mega-evolving, Metagross takes the process even further. It links with 2 additional Beldum and another Metang, temporarily increasing its network to 8 Beldum components. This massively expands both physical strength and computational capacity, showing how fusion in this evolutionary line scales mathematically. Although the anime once showed an alternate evolution process, the consistent game explanation makes Metang and Metagross some of the clearest biological fusions in the series, blending both physical and mental traits into a single, highly efficient organism. Vanilluxe. Vanilluxe is considered an accidental fusion Pokémon. It originates when two Vanilluxe become stuck together, fusing into a dual-headed form. Unlike structured fusions such as Magneton or Metagross, this one appears more like an evolutionary mishap, where two individuals failed to separate and permanently merged. The result is a Pokémon with two distinct faces, each capable of independent expression. This suggests that while the original Vanilluxe maintains separate consciousness, their bodies are bound together as one. Despite this odd origin, Vanilluxe functions effectively as a single unit in battle, coordinating attacks without issue. Its design reflects the theme of fusion through circumstance rather than design, where Magneton fuses by electromagnetic attraction and Metagross through psychic connection. Vanilluxe simply demonstrates what happens when two ice creatures merge physically. The outcome is permanent, showing that even accidental bonds can form lasting fusion Pokémon. Barbaracle. Barbaracle forms from a collective of 7 Binacle uniting into a single humanoid body. Each Binacle contributes one part, arms, legs, and even the head, while still keeping its own independent eye and limited personality. Despite their individuality, the 7 function as a perfectly coordinated unit, giving the appearance of one Pokémon. The Pokédex gives 2 different explanations for this process. Some entries say that 2 Binacle multiply into 7 during evolution, while others state that 7 separate Binacle gather together to form Barbaracle. Regardless of the method, the result is the same: a rock-type Pokémon composed of multiple beings working as one. Before evolving, a single Binacle already demonstrates fusion at a smaller scale, with 2 individuals sharing a single rock. They sometimes quarrel and split apart, showing that harmony isn't guaranteed. But in Barbaracle, the collective achieves a stable structure where each Binacle serves a specialized role, much like parts of a team. Melmetal. Melmetal evolves through one of the most visually dramatic fusion processes in the franchise. Unlike typical evolutions that happen in an instant, Melmetal forms when dozens of Melton literally merge together. The individual Melton flow into one another like liquid metal, gradually building the towering body of Melmetal piece by piece. This concept is reinforced in Pokemon Go, where evolution requires 400 Melton candy, symbolizing the huge number of Melton needed for the transformation. Unlike most Pokemon that evolve alone, Melmetal's very existence depends on mass fusion. The resulting Pokemon retains a single Melton-like head, but gains an enormous metallic body with immense physical power. Official descriptions highlight its ability to deliver punches strong enough to send a truck flying. Its design emphasizes that the combined strength of many small parts can create something overwhelmingly powerful. Melmetal's origin makes it one of the clearest examples of a true collective fusion evolution, where individuality is completely sacrificed to form a greater whole. Wishiwashi. Wishiwashi demonstrates a large-scale collective fusion through its school form. On its own, Wishiwashi is considered one of the weakest Pokemon, a small and vulnerable fish. But when threatened, it emits a signal that summons hundreds of other Wishiwashi, merging into a massive, predatory formation. This school form is not a single organism, but rather a perfectly synchronized swarm, so tightly packed that it functions as one body. The Pokédex even gives its weight as over 260 times greater than a solo Wishiwashi, suggesting hundreds are involved in forming the giant fish-shaped entity. The transformation is temporary. When Wishiwashi's HP falls below 25% in battle, the formation collapses and the Pokémon reverts to its solo form. This cycle of assembly and dispersal makes it unique among fusions, as it can repeatedly switch between being one collective or many individuals depending on circumstances. The school form allows Wishiwashi to intimidate and battle opponents far beyond the ability of a single individual, showing how cooperation can create power greater than the sum of its parts. Zygarde. Zygarde is one of the most complex fusion-based Pokémon because its body is built from cells and cores rather than fully independent creatures. Zygarde cells. These are the most basic units. They have no will or battle ability, functioning only as building blocks. Zygarde cores. These act as the brains of the system. They can think, direct cells, and communicate, but still cannot fight alone. When enough cells are assembled around one or more cores, Zygarde can take on different forms. 10% form. Dog-like in appearance, created from about 10% of its total cells. 50% form. A large serpent using half the cells. Complete form. A humanoid dragon formed when 100% of the cells and cores unite. This modular structure allows Zygarde to adapt to environmental threats. Normally it exists in scattered pieces, but when ecosystems are in danger, the cells converge into stronger forms. In the games, players can use the reassembly unit, or Zygarde cube, to manually collect and merge cells, essentially assembling Zygarde piece by piece. This makes Zygarde a biological fusion system, more like a swarm intelligence or a living transformer than a single Pokémon. Falinks. Falinks is composed of 6 separate individuals that always operate as a single unit. 5 of them are the troopers, while the one at the front acts as the brass, leading the group in coordinated formations. Unlike Magneton or Metagross, these components never physically merge. Instead, they maintain full separation while moving and attacking in strict synchronization. Despite being 6 creatures, Falinks is treated as one Pokémon in battle and cannot be separated into individual members. Their unity is displayed through tactical formations. The brass directs the troopers for offense, defense, or marching maneuvers, resembling a miniature army. This formation-based system makes Falinks unique. It is less a biological fusion and more a demonstration of perfect teamwork. Dragapult. Dragapult represents a symbiotic fusion-like relationship, rather than a permanent merger. It carries Dreepy, its pre-evolution form, in the crests on its head. These juvenile Pokémon live with Dragapult until they grow strong enough to evolve, relying on it for protection and guidance. In battle, Dragapult launches the Dreepy from its horns like living missiles. This attack method shows a high degree of trust between the species, since the Dreepy willingly act as projectiles. The relationship is not optional. If Dragapult or its pre-evolution Dracloak are missing their Dreepy companions, they become restless and anxious, suggesting a deep psychological dependency. From a design perspective, Dragapult and Dreepy function as a single combat unit, even though they remain separate Pokémon biologically. Shiny forms further emphasize this unity. If Dragapult is shiny, all of its accompanying Dreepy are shiny as well. Maushold. Maushold evolves from Tandemouse, which begins as just 2 mice. Upon evolution, instead of growing larger or stronger, the pair suddenly become a family unit. Depending on the form, the result is either a family of 3 or a family of 4, with 1 or 2 baby mice appearing alongside the original pair. This transformation is unique because it resembles instant reproduction rather than a standard evolutionary change. The babies are immediately battle-ready and participate in attacks, moving in coordination with the parents. Despite being multiple individuals, the group is counted as a single Pokémon. The process suggests that evolution in Pokémon can sometimes generate entirely new members rather than just transform an existing body. Maushold therefore stands out as an example where fusion is less about merging and more about multiplying into a cohesive household unit. Nihilego and Lusamine. The fusion of Nihilego, an Ultra Beast, with Lusamine, the Ether Foundation president, is one of the darkest examples of merging in Pokémon. Unlike legendary fusions such as Kyurem or Calyrex, this is a parasitic takeover. Nihilego attaches to Lusamine's head and injects neurotoxins that alter her mind and body. These toxins amplify emotions, remove inhibitions, and make the host more aggressive. In this case, Lusamine became violent and unstable, her personality warped by the fusion. Physically, Nihilego expands to envelop Lusamine within its bell, creating a hybrid form with a disturbing, jellyfish-like appearance. Both adopt a black and purple coloration, signaling the unnatural bond. Even after separation, the toxins remained in Lusamine's system, leaving her unconscious and requiring special treatment. Other characters, such as Guzma, describe the experience as being trapped, conscious but unable to control one's body, consumed by fear. This case demonstrates the potential dangers of human Pokémon fusion, especially when dealing with invasive life forms from other dimensions. Bill's cell separation accident. One of the earliest cases of human Pokémon fusion appears in the Kanto region with the researcher Bill. While testing his cell separation system, a teleportation-like device, Bill accidentally fuses himself with a Pokémon. When the player encounters him in the games, Bill has the body of a Pokémon but retains his human mind and speech. The species he merges with varies across adaptations. In Fire Red and Leaf Green, it's a Clefairy. In Let's Go Pikachu/Eevee, it's a Nidorino. In the Pokémon Adventures manga, it's a Rattata. In Pokémon Zensho, it's a Nidoran female. The anime avoids fusion, instead showing Bill stuck in a Kabuto costume. Once the player helps operate the machine again, Bill is separated back into human and Pokémon, unharmed. This example highlights the risks of technological fusion experiments. While Pokémon naturally merge in some cases, human attempts are unstable and dangerous. Galar Fossil Pokémon. The fossil Pokémon of Galar, Dracozolt, Arctozolt, Dracovish, and Arctovish, are examples of artificial fusion created through scientific reconstruction. Instead of reviving complete fossilized Pokémon, researchers in Galar combined mismatched fossil halves, producing hybrid creatures that never naturally existed. Dracozolt, upper body of a dragon fossil combined with the lower half of a bird fossil. Arctozolt, upper body of an ice-adapted creature fused with a draconic lower half. Dracovish, upper body of a fish attached to a draconic lower half. Arctovish, upper body of an ice-adapted creature joined with a fishtail, but upside down, making breathing difficult. The Pokédex notes that these hybrids often struggle with their bodies. Arctozolt constantly shivers because its top and bottom halves have conflicting adaptations. Arctovish can't breathe properly due to its mismatched structure. Unlike natural fusions, where both parts coexist in balance, these fusions are unstable and raise ethical concerns. They function in battle, but are clear examples of scientific hubris, essentially Pokémon equivalents of Frankenstein's monster, revived creatures forced into unnatural forms. Thu-Fi-Zer. Thu-Fi-Zer is an artificial fusion created in the Pokémon Adventures manga by Team Rocket. It combines the three legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, into a single, extremely powerful Pokémon. This forced merger was achieved through technology rather than natural compatibility. Unlike Kyurem or Calyrex, which have lore-based reasons for their fusions, Thu-Fi-Zer existed only because of outside interference. The result was a creature that carried the elemental powers of ice, electricity, and fire simultaneously. However, the fusion proved unstable. When Team Rocket's control weakened, the merged body separated back into the three original birds. This instability highlights a recurring theme. Fusions created unnaturally, against the will of the Pokémon, rarely last. Thu-Fi-Zer stands as one of the earliest examples of legendary fusion in Pokémon media, foreshadowing the game mechanics that would later appear with items like the DNA Splicers, and Solarizer, and Reigns of Unity.